in this instance, they were highlighting all the incredible missteps that were happening. No, 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 no. You have to say, for me, this matters. This thing about poverty here at home, because, I mean, all of you will say, that it seemed quite obvious. The people who were the left behind were the poor people. They also happen to be black people. But I mean, you have experienced poverty as well, as you say. And you've said, this is the face of America that we don't want. We don't like what we have seen. We're going to change it. And I mean, there was this incredible outpouring of incredible compassion and generosity. And this is your characteristic. My wife and I have experienced your incredible generosity. I've said, why don't you export your generosity instead of your bombs? Why don't you export your generosity, which is the thing that makes you truly great, not bombs. And you try to remember this. Try to remember this. You can make those people in Washington jump and get them to say, when we say jump, they must ask how high. Don't go away with the notion that you are impotent. No. They wouldn't be running around as they are now, trying to get the media to put a new slant on that story. They wouldn't be saying, well, we've got these billions. Why didn't they have those billions in time? They have them now because you are upset. Your parents are upset. Most of America is upset that this could in fact happen in America. So you can make them be serious about world poverty. But you can make them serious too about the environment. You can say, hey, most specialist experts are saying Katrina, Rita are happening because of global warming. You are going to have to do something about Kyoto. You know, yeah.
Thank you so much, Bishop Tutu, and thank you so much for being with us and leading our parade to your magnificent country, a country of so many wonderful, wonderful cultures, and I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to explore the varieties of people and cultures, traditional cultures and modern cultures in the urban and the rural areas. And I wish to ask actually two questions regarding traditional and modern cultures and traditions in South Africa. My first asks you to please enlighten us in the theme of this morning by recalling ways and solutions you may have had employed in the past to better understand and alleviate tensions that may have occurred between traditional and more modern Western African cultures. And also in line with this, with the vast number of different cultures in South Africa and the probable great varieties of ways of thinking on issues regarding reconciliation and forgiveness, how were you and the Commission able to determine that reconciliation and forgiveness were in the interest and agreement of all the people of such varied cultures in traditional rural and modern urban South Africa?
In part, I think one embodies in oneself a marriage, as it were, of the traditional and the more modern. When you are an African, you've still got a great deal of your traditional cultural values in you or in the community. There is a bit of schizophrenia when we seem to be torn, belonging this side and belonging the other. But I think, I mean, that in many ways we are like any other community that is trying to come to terms with diversity. And you in the United States haven't done too badly in some respects in being able to integrate people from different parts of Europe. You've not done badly with the Caucasians. Maybe you've not been so hot with Native Americans and African Americans, yeah. But we are also in a kind of melting pot, and there are times when people are worried about the survival of their culture. Our constitution tries. I mean, we're probably the only country in the world that has 11 official languages. 11
official.
Yes, 11. If I said I'm Xhosa. Now we've got English, we've got Afrikaans, Xhosa, Zulu, Tswana, Sotho, and you go to court and you say I want to have the proceedings of the court translated to me in my home language. And in Parliament, actually, they have simultaneous translation. People can address Parliament in any one of the 11 official languages. And we are probably the only country in the world that sings an anthem in 4 languages, where we're trying to say, yes, in a mad moment, I said we were the rainbow people of God. And so they tend to speak about us as the rainbow people. But we are not a finished product. We are in the making. And there are many, many hiccups. And people can get upset that they think their culture is not being given a due place. And maybe you can come along and you can help us a little bit. But I mean, we're trying in say, for instance, our churches to incorporate African ways of worshiping, music, and so on. And even the styles of dress well, Nelson Mandela, I suppose, got to introducing what they call the Madiba shirt, where originally we used to have to wear ties if you were going to be formal. Now they allow you to be slightly less formal, and we're trying to be as inclusive as we can be. But we've not arrived yet. We're still on the journey. So we want to learn from you as much as you might want to learn from us.
The sharing of cultural
Yeah.
respect, especially. Just like to continue a little bit more because you mentioned the African and South African and African in total philosophy of Ubuntu. And let me just, you write about Ubuntu as a philosophical overriding way of life in South Africa and perhaps all of Africa. Ubuntu, as I understand it, we are at best if we are one with one another, is the concept, I believe.
Yes.
And from some experiences in Africa that I have had, I totally agree with that the breaking up of friendship due to disagreement or an action that cannot be reconciled, that causes continued hatred or fighting between people, is perhaps the worst image that may be given to others in the community, including the ancestral community, I believe. And I have been in situations in Africa where, although I felt it would be best to break up a friendship due to situations that could be reconciled, African friends told me that the community would see that as a very serious breach of what is expected of us, and that we should do everything possible to keep our friendship intact. Is that how you see Ubuntu?
Yes, yes. It is fairly straightforwardly that it says, I can't be me unless you are you. I need you for me to be me, because my humanity is caught up in your humanity. And anything that subverts, undermines your humanity, whether I like it or not, does the same to my humanity. And clearly, it is saying we are interrelated. We are meant to live in a delicate network of interdependence. And yet, I mean, it is true. It is true because you've discovered that even the only superpower in the world can't go it alone in every aspect. I mean, if it wants to fight the war against terror, it's got to engage other countries to support them. And no country would be able to subsist in total isolation because it was self-sufficient. In fact, for a human being to be totally self-sufficient makes us subhuman.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. Tutu. We as Semester at Sea students have had the blessing to experience such a rare opportunity to travel and see diverse cultures around the world, and like you said in your introduction, from our own perspectives. My question for you today is, in your mind, what is now our obligation as a community to humankind? How do we ignite such youthful and moral activisms within ourselves and each other?
Thank you very much. You know, I have usually been quite upset at how frequently the media depicts young people. Most frequently, the kind of stories we get in the media are stories that describe young people who have gone off the rails. They teenage pregnancies, drug abuse, and all and I say, hey, have they ever thought about the young people who go, like say they go to Honduras and go and work in a village, remote village, no publicity, no nothing, and give of themselves there? Young people in the Peace Corps, young people and others involved in Habitat for Humanity. Have they seen young people who give themselves, commit themselves for the benefit of others when they needn't have done so? And I say, we need you young people. We need you. The world needs you. The world needs you for your idealism. The fact of your being able to dream. You know, many of those who demonstrated against the war were not exclusively, of course, young people, but the millions and millions who came out included a lot of young people who were opposed to the war, who were saying, give peace a chance. And more recently, the thing, make poverty history. A lot of those who have engaged in that are young people who are saying, we do believe it is possible to have a different kind of world. And God says, please, please go on dreaming. Dream my dream with me. Help me to bring it to fruition. This dream that one day we will wake up and realize that we are in fact members of one family. That we will survive only together. We will be prosperous only together. We will be human only together. And young people are absolutely crucial. I mean, some of God's best collaborators are young people. And I've said, you know, when we grew up, we had far fewer pressures exerted on us. I mean, the things that are available on the internet, I mean, there were hardly any drugs around when, I mean, maybe the only thing that they had in the days when I was younger would be marijuana. Not all of these things that are around. And I say, we shouldn't be shocked that some young people go off the rails. We should be exhilarating and saying, isn't it fantastic that not more of them go off the rails, given the kind of pressures you have from advertising. We didn't have that kind of thing that makes you think, no, the best kind of person is one who has this, that, and the other. And so I think God says, hey, I have no one except you, and you, and you, and you, to help me make this a better world. And so go for it.
Thank you.
As you did in South Africa, we in America, the Black Americans, sang often together. And I was thinking, I have been longing so much to sing with you and to sing with all the audience. And I was thinking, maybe we could sing a simple song together before we leave. Would that be all right?
Yeah.
Yes?
Let's try.
Well, I have an idea for a very simple song. And the words are very, very easy, and the melody is very easy. And it goes, there's a bright side somewhere. There's a bright side somewhere. Don't you rest until you find it. There's a bright side somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. Don't you rest until you find it. There is more love somewhere. You want to try that? So this is how the melody goes. There's a bright side somewhere. Is that too high? There's a bright side somewhere. There's a bright side somewhere. Don't you rest until you find it. There's a bright side somewhere. Let's take that first line again. There's a bright side somewhere. There's a bright side somewhere. Don't you rest until you find it. There's a bright side somewhere. There's more love. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. Don't you rest until you find it. There is more love somewhere. There is peace of mind. There is peace of mind somewhere. There is peace of mind somewhere. Don't you rest until you find it. There is peace of mind somewhere. Thank you, sir.
Unless all of us have misread everything that the Archbishop has said and has stood for, it seems to me that in light of the song we just sang and in light of the discussion we just had, that this is the question, the exact question that the Archbishop would have us ask each other. If you would stay put, please, for a moment and join us once more in saying thank you from the bottom of our hearts to Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Dean Timmons.
Good morning, all. There's never a good time for what I'm about to tell you, but what a wonderful morning. On August 30th, our first meeting